started faster, but this time it gets started a little bit slower. It's like trying to find Wi-Fi in airports. You know, it's all say they have Wi-Fi, but down the reception is always bad.
Lasts for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Hey guys, how are you guys doing today? Hey. I hope that you are pumped to see us today, because we are pumped to see you, but we don't really see you. Anyway, we are going to get on to a new live sessions where we're going to be answering all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, and hopefully, finger crossed, YouTube is going to let us do an entire hour this time. Yeah. It has been a bit challenging lately, where YouTube has been like, oh no, we're going to drop off and, you know, just stop the live session. Then we have to start again. Anyway, if that happens, don't fret. We will be back literally within minutes. So just check the channel and then we just get back online. Anyhow, Laura is going to get us started.
Yeah, so if you're wondering who the hell we are, this is Robin and I'm Laura, and we are the team behind backpackerguide.nz, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. It's 100% free, and it's basically a huge website on everything to do with traveling in New Zealand. So if you have any questions, usually you can find the answer on Backpacker Guide. But if you're not really into reading, we also do this live Q&A session on YouTube every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time for you guys to come onto the live chat and ask your New Zealand travel questions. But just to give you a reminder of what times that is around the world. So like I said, it's Sunday, 8 a.m. New Zealand time, but in the US, that's on a Saturday at 4 p.m. EST or at 12 p.m. PST. It's also a Saturday in Europe. So in the UK, it would be 9 p.m. and in France, it would be 10 p.m. And in India, that is on a Sunday morning at 1:30 a.m. So throughout the week, we take all your questions on our various social media channels so that we can also go through those questions as well during this live Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, just put them in the comments of any of our YouTube videos. You can also send us private message on Facebook if you search Backpacker Guide NZ. You can also send us a private message on Instagram if you search backpackerguide.nz. And you can give us a mention on Twitter at BPKGuide.
If I remember to check Twitter out, then that makes sense.
Did you forget
yes,
this
I
week?
did. I completely forgot about Twitter, guys. So if you had your question here, I'm so sorry. Anyway, let's say hi to the chat. Leo Toledo says, hi, guys. How are you doing? Honestly, we're doing pretty well today. It is a brilliant day. It's not too cold. The weather is fantastic. So, you know, it's Sunday. What else can you ask? It's pretty awesome. And he says it's 5 p.m. here in Brazil. It's Saturday, right? In Brazil right now? Hopefully it is. I hope. Anyway, Y2J is in the house as well. Nick Hill says hello. So welcome, everybody. So while you guys are getting warmed up right now, asking us all your questions in the live chat, obviously all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, right? We are going to go through a few questions that you guys sent us. And there is a very interesting one that was sent to us from Valerie Baker, or Baker, I think. So I think we should go through this one. Laura, do you want to read it?
Absolutely.
Leo says that, yeah, it's Saturday in Brazil.
Okay. All right, so let's go through this question from Valerie Baker on YouTube asking, hello, my flight leaves next Tuesday, the 18th of June, and I don't really know what kind of luggage I can bring. My flight ticket says a 30 kg suitcase and a 7 kg carry-on bag. However, I've read that you're also allowed to bring a purse or small bag on the plane as well. Can I bring my 60-litre backpack, my carry-on bag for day trips, and my ski boots as a small purse/bag? All right.
So packing for New Zealand. So first up, let me just say that, Valerie, it does look like you are an overpacker. If you do already struggle with the amount of stuff that you can actually carry with you in the plane, that usually means that you have packed a little too much. We are very much advocates for light and lighter packing, because you will have to carry those things for your entire trip. So just maybe, I mean, just the first thing I want to say is like, maybe just consider like dropping a few things that you may not use as much.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get started maybe with your checked-in luggage, which is the usually like, 23 to like 30 kgs.
Usually, yeah. So this is basically the luggage that, your big suitcase or your big backpack that you take onto the plane and you check in basically as soon as you check in with the airline. That is when you put your backpack on the conveyor belt and you don't see it until you get to the other side. The usual allowance for this is 23 to 30 kg. And obviously this is where you want to pack most of your stuff because like you said, there's the carry-on bag, there's a small purse, but that's usually for more of the essentials. Everything that, like most of the things that you want to pack for New Zealand needs to be in this bag. So yeah, there's usually some regulations around what you can actually pack in your check-in luggage. But if you are unsure on any of those things, it's always best to just like say what you've packed when you go and check in. For instance, what surprised us was actually having quite a lot of camera equipment. We did have quite a lot of batteries. So we thought that you should actually put that into your check-in luggage, but turns out it's better to actually have that sort of thing in your carry-on. So if you do have something that you're a little bit unsure about, just mention it to the guys at the check-in. And when you do check in your bags, then usually they can give you advice on which bag to put it in. So
and they also give you the time to actually change things around. Everything is not a big deal. That's what they do for a living, right? So for example, for this camera batteries issue that we had, they literally told us, hey, like you should put that in your carry-on. You can't have batteries in your in your checked-in luggage. And so they literally had a table set up for idiots like us, and we literally just unpacked like the couple of batteries we had. We put them here. They just checked them, and then they were like, okay, you're good to go. And that was a very, very swift and very easy process. So don't be afraid to kind of ask, because otherwise, what would have happened is that they will either have refused or checked luggage. So you get called on the big speaker around the airport, and then you have to go and take care of your bag afterwards. So it's a bit of a mess. Or even worse, that will literally be that don't fly your bag, and you arrive at the destination and you're like, oh, there is no bag, and because you didn't apply to the term and conditions, whatever, it's kind of like tough luck. So kind of always ask. It's totally fine, and they're not offended at all. They usually prefer you ask questions rather than you do something stupid. Yeah.
All right, so now we'll move on to the carry-on luggage, and basically there's also a weight restriction, which is usually around 7 kgs, but on top of that, there's actually a restriction on the dimensions of the luggage that you can take as a carry-on bag. So what they have at the airports, at the sort of check-in stations, is a little sort of skeleton of the size of how big your bag can be, which you can just put your bag into it, and if it fits, then your bag is good to go. And it's usually about the size of a small wheelie suitcase, or it would be the size of like a medium-sized backpack. So it's not like it's the small, like your carry-on baggage dimension restrictions aren't really that small. Do bear in mind that it is quite big, so you can still pack quite a lot. But just, make sure that you double check on the airline website that you're going with what their dimensions for carry-on luggage is. So Valerie's mentioned that she wanted to see if she could take her ski boots and, actually, no, that's more onto the next bit. With the personal items, she wanted to take her ski boots. But
it's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't carry on. I'm doing personal items, right?
Yes.
Okay. Personal items. So now that's the thing that a lot of people get really confused by, because you have the right to carry also a couple of personal items with you. So you have your carry-on, and then you have a personal item. Now, a lot of people consider and think, oh, I can take whatever I want. I just say it's my personal item. So, for example, Valerie right here, you would like to take your ski boots with you. Now, the personal items, there is rules for every single different airlines, right? But technically, a ski boots is not a personal item. They're not going to accept it. And also, it's pretty big. So now, one of the things with the personal items is that first, it needs to be able to fit under your seat for the length of the trip. So it has even stricter size restriction than your carry-on. So the carry-on already has this frame where you can go and check, as Laura was mentioning, that you can go and check the size of the bag to see if it fits the frame, then you'll be able to take it as a carry-on. If it doesn't, you'll have to have it as a checked-in luggage. Well, the sizes depends even more on different airlines, but are even more strict for the personal items. So on average, the size, usually they are 45 by 35 centimeters. And for you guys, if you are in the USA, it's 18 by 14 inches. That's on average. It changes, with every single airline, as I mentioned. So you'll have to ask your airline to do that. So it needs to be able to fit under the seat. So usually what happens is that it's just your purse, it's just your laptop bag, but that's pretty much it. 2 massive ski boots just doesn't cut it. It's not going to work, and you won't be able to take that as a personal item. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat right here to mention about the personal items, is that there are quite a few items which don't fall into this kind of category. So, for example, if you're traveling with young kids, your stroller, how do you say? Stroller, yeah. Your stroller, your breast pump, your child safety seat, your what else do we have? Yeah, a walker if you're a little bit older.
Diaper bags.
If you have diaper bags, all your big coats and everything like that, that doesn't count as your personal item, and you can have that on top of it. So I'm going to hear you straight away. You guys are going to say, oh, wait, I don't have a kids. I don't have a stroller. I don't have a massive coat. I don't have it. I just want to take my boots. It's all about the amount of size available in the plane. So some people will have less, will take less space. Some people will take more. And the rules are quite strict. And there is nothing you can do around that. So even if you're not carrying a stroller, a diaper bag, some heavy coats, a personal item, a carry-on bag, and you just want your 2 extra boots, you still don't fit the rules, and sadly, they won't accept it. Airlines rules are very tight, and they really play around the fact that, well, some people will carry more things than others. It's the same thing with the baggage allowance. It's the same thing with literally just even the weight of passengers. Some passengers are twice the weight of some other, and that's, they need compensate, and that's basically how they run their business, right? So you've got to keep that in mind. And so there is a lot of restrictions in that way. Now, to clearly answer your question, Valerie, you are asking, can you bring your 60-liter backpack as my carry-on bag? If it fits within the carry-on frame, and you can check that on your airline's website, you can check what is the size of that kind of frame. If it fits it, yes, you can, as long as it's under 7 kg. A 60-liter backpack usually doesn't really cut it. It's a little bit bigger, depending on how much you stuff it.
Depends how much you put in it,
Exactly.
But when it's usually full, that's too big.
It's too big, yeah. And can you bring your ski boots as your purse and small bag? We are almost 100% sure that it's going to be a flat no. So the way we will approach that will be to actually fit them into your main bag and just kind of get rid of a few items. It looks like you're about to pack a lot for your trip to New Zealand, and maybe maybe there's some room to play right here.
Yeah.
But that's basically our tips for what to pack in your bag. We do actually have a full video about what you pack in your bag, what you pack in your carry-on. We have a second videos about that.
Yeah.
And we have plenty of articles on backpackerguide.nz. So we will be putting some links for you guys below, just so you have all those information. Anything to add?
Oh, not really.
All right. I hope that was really helpful to you, Valerie, and to all of you guys watching right now. Click like and hit the subscribe button if you find that useful. All right, let's go back to the live chat. All right, a lot of things has been happening right here. So Leo is asking, what city are you living in New Zealand? We're not living in a city. We are in central North Island, in the area where there is like volcanoes and lakes and awesome stuff like that. So we're not really city people. We head to town quite often to meet people and everything, but we're not really city people. Valerie Baker, oh, she's here. Hey, how are you doing? Did you enjoy the answer to your question? Did you get all the information you needed? Nick Hill is asking, how's the weather in New Zealand? It's actually pretty good for being winter right now. It hasn't been raining too much.
Yeah, we've had some good sunny days, but obviously it is getting a bit colder. Yeah. So as you can see, we've got our scarf and beanie on and stuff like that. So it is getting colder. It's just it's the first month of winter right now. But yeah, someone was asking whether it was, Leo was asking, is it snowing in the South Island now? Definitely there has been some snow just on the mountaintops around, but there hasn't been any huge snowfall yet. But I think there has been some forecast for next week. So yeah, ask again next week and we'll let you know.
Yeah, the weather is very changeable right now. All right, Jack was asking a question, and we'll go over that in just a minute. I'm just going through the live chats, but I had to ask a clarification right here. Okay, Adil says, hey guys, is there a railway service in New Zealand, and is it wheelchair accessible? Also, is the bus service wheelchair accessible? So the bus services in town are wheelchair accessible all around New Zealand. So any of the bus that will go to like the suburbs or move you around town are wheelchair accessible. As per the railway service, they are wheelchair accessible as well, but they're not like kind of nationwide railway services. They're more kind of a touristy thing.
Yeah, so there's in terms of nationwide, there's only 3 like main railway routes in New Zealand. So to get around New Zealand, it's not really a transportation method. It's only really there for scenic journeys. So yeah, more like a scenic experience than actual transports. But within the larger cities like Auckland and Wellington, they both have sort of small train networks to get you to the outer suburbs. And with those, they'll be wheelchair accessible as well. But yeah, the train network isn't really a major thing in New Zealand. It's more about...
It's an activity. It's not a transportation method, basically, all right, Valerie says she's not an overpacker. She has spare room in a 60-liter backpack. Here you go. She's not.
That's what you can put her boots.
Yeah, sometimes we're a little bit extreme. Like, for example, I arrived in New Zealand with just a carry-on bag, personally. And so,
Well, I actually brought snowboarding boots to New Zealand and I put them in my suitcase. And I just decided, I prioritize that on top of some of the other clothes and things. So I just got rid of some clothes and put my snowboarding boots in instead.
So she was wearing a bikini, but she has ski boots while snowboarding. No, that makes sense. Cool. Nick Hill says, I love New Zealand. How much does a visiting visa cost you from India? I do not know about the cost, but the visitor visas are either free or very, very cheap, as long as you do fit the visitor criteria, i.e. you're going to come for a short amount of time, you have enough money to spend around the country to travel, and you do have your return flight. It's quite easy to do that. You can go on the immigration website and actually see that, see the cost for each of the different countries, but it's really cheap. It's not going to cost you hundreds, that's for sure. Leo says, it is snowing in the South Island now. Yes, it is actually. The ski fields are opening.
That's what I just said.
You
just went through that,
Oh, well, okay. Ankita say hi. Hi, Ankita. How are you doing? Then Alamo say, hey, guy, my brother is spending a year in New Zealand and his birthday is coming up. Is it possible to send him a package with snacks, chocolate, and sauce powder? Yeah, you can, as long as there is no like too much natural products. So like if you pick chocolate, don't pick the chocolate with all the nuts and almonds and stuff like that. They don't really like that. But yeah, care package, it's kind of a lottery for the care package. We find like sometimes we receive care package and everything went, and sometimes you receive care package and they took half of it, so it's kind of like you don't really know.
I mean, we've both received food from our home countries when like our family have sent it to us and we have received it, so yeah, most of the time it is okay, but there is a few restrictions which I think you can find on the Ministry of I don't know, biosecurity, is it?
Primary industry.
Industries,
NPI. But yeah, anyway, just type biosecurity New Zealand and you'll find all the information you need there. But honestly, just pack a few things, as long as it's really processed, it'll be fine. And Alomo, if you are not from an English-speaking country, though, try to pick some product that also have the ingredient list in English on the wrapper or on the box. Like sometimes you have like a pack of I don't know, sweets or something, and there is like multiple language. Try to pick things which always have the English ingredients on there, because they primarily use that to actually know if you can pass. I mean, if they open the package, obviously, they primarily use that as kind of like weighing, okay, did that get in or did that doesn't get in? So if it's not in your native language, then that doesn't pass. So for example, I one time tried to get some cheese from France, and literally like, the ingredients is milk and then a bit of culture, right? It's not that hard. And, but anyway, it wasn't in English, so they actually got rid of it, which, damn. So yeah, so make sure it's written on the package. So now Alomo says that he already translated them, everything from German to English. That doesn't count. It needs to be actually properly on the package. So your own handmade translation added to it doesn't work either. They want something like official, because technically, and I'm not saying you're doing that, and I know you're not doing that, but technically you could write whatever you want, and then they have to do the work. So just keep that in mind. But honestly, you should be fine. Give it a try.
Might as well give it a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, don't buy the most expensive things to put in the care package, but usually if it's a piece, a few bits of food, it's worth sending it anyway. Yeah.
And anyway, it's his birthday. I mean, but if you want to be 100% safe, just send him a t-shirt or send him like something that doesn't, is not food. That's 100% safe, and it's going to get there. But if you can give him food, everybody likes food. I have to be honest. Yeah. Cool. Mukdum says it's a nice day in Auckland, and Y2J says it's cold in Christchurch, only 2 degrees right now, which is quite cold.
That is.
And Leo says he's dreaming about coming to New Zealand to practice mountaineering. Oh, well, that's a great country to do that, man. The South Island is going to be your paradise.
Yeah.
All right, so should we go through Jack's question in the meantime? Okay, so Jack says, hey guys, I'm wondering about the exit flight to get through the New Zealand border. Shall I just book a cheap flight and cancel it, or is there another option? And then you give us a bit of clarification saying that apparently when you get to New Zealand, you need to have an exit flight for visa purposes. And obviously he doesn't know when he'll be leaving New Zealand. Hence, he haven't booked the flight yet. All right, so Jack, we're going to be assuming that you are coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa because that's the most popular visa that requires you to have an exit flight. If you're coming on a visitor visa, you will there is no room to play right here. You will have to have an exit flight to be able to enter the country, or you have to have a very good reason for not having booked it just yet, because you can only stay in New Zealand for 3 months, only for holiday purposes. So you'll have to have a very good reason for that. But if you're on a working holiday visa in New Zealand, that is true. You can come for 6, 12, 10, 24 months in some countries. You know, there is a lot of flexibility, and a lot can happen in a year. Hell, a lot can happen in 2 years if you're from the UK, for example, which can stay for 24 months. So for this reason, you may not be able to book your return flight just yet. And that's something that a lot of people get kind of stuck with when trying to look at the requirements and how they actually can go through customs. So luckily, there is a few ways for you to manage that and make sure that you don't waste too much money either. So the first thing is, when you come to New Zealand on a working holiday visa, there is a handful of requirements. And you can check those requirements on the website like workingholidayNewzealand.com, where you just enter your country of origin, a couple of extra information, and it's just going to pop in a whole list for you to know what you can do and what you can bring and all those kind of things. Now, when you're going to see that you absolutely need to have a return flight or the funds to afford one, then you're going to be like, okay, well, how do I manage that? Because I don't know when I'm coming back. So one of the options you can be doing is what you said. You can have a cheap flight to exit the country and just plan to change it off, or just forget about it. Now, to do that, you can either get a very cheap flight to Australia. You can get yourself a flexible flight, which is something that you can exchange, for either a no fee or a very small fee. Some airlines do that, so that's how do you call that? A flexible return?
Open air ticket.
Yeah, open return. Open return ticket. Yeah. So you're gonna book your flight. Let's say you're from. I'm gonna guess you're from the UK, but I have no idea. But you're from the UK and you fly to New Zealand. And so then this is a set date, but then your return is an open return. So it's going to cost you a little bit more money, but that means you can call the airline and book your flight. There is a few conditions, something like about a month before, and you say, okay, this is the kind of date I would like to go, and then I work with you to find your flight back. And so that's another way to do that, and you will have the paperwork to prove that you have your return ticket. Another way to do that is to get round the world tickets, which works pretty well. It's with certain kind of airline groups where, what's those kind of groups? Star Alliance, and those kind of things, which can help you around the world, but they're a bit more flexible, so that could work that way. But I think the most popular way to do it is to have enough funds for a return ticket, which is usually we say about $1,000.
Yeah. So one of the conditions, especially for the working holiday visa, is that you can either have a travel ticket out of New Zealand or enough funds to do so. And we have had a question before saying, actually, how much funds do you need to prove that? Obviously, a ticket can cost anywhere from a couple of hundred New Zealand dollars to go over to Australia to $1,000 to get back into Europe. So
if you fly business class, you can do 5,000.
I'm thinking more economy and trying to get around cheaply. But so usually a very safe bet is to just have at least an extra 1,000 New Zealand dollars in your bank account, for that. And when you do arrive in New Zealand, it's not always the case, but it is good to actually have some evidence to prove that you meet the conditions of your visa, just in case you are asked at the border, which, like I say, it's not really bound to happen, but it is good to play it safe. And one of those evidence you can bring is a bank statement. So usually with a working holiday visa, you need to prove that you've got enough funds to live in New Zealand for the amount of time that you're staying here. So
I think it's about 4,200 New Zealand dollars. It will depend on which country you're from and how long you're coming to New Zealand for. So make sure to double check that on the website I gave you before, workingholidayNewzealand.com, or on the Immigration New Zealand website. So for you, we're going to go for like the $4,200. So that would be the sum of money that you need to have to be able to support yourself in New Zealand during your working holiday. That's one of the requirements of your visa. And then you need to add that on top.
And then on top of that, have a spare 1,000 New Zealand dollars. And if you do need to justify it, you say to the immigration officer, that is for my return ticket or my travel ticket out of New Zealand.
So that would be a total of, for that very example that we just gave you right here, that would be 5,200 New Zealand dollars available on your bank account, and being able to be shown onto your bank statement when entering the country. Now, you don't need to be too afraid. They don't ask that all the time. They're not going to scrutinize everything absolutely all the time. It's not, it doesn't feel like you're being grilled or anything like that. But it's good to have it because, well, this is basically one of the biggest issue when people are entering New Zealand on a working holiday visa, especially for like people not meeting their visa conditions. So it's very important to take that quite seriously. Also, you will need this extra cash anyway to be able to travel in New Zealand. I mean, all the accommodation anyway is usually to have 5,500 New Zealand dollars plus all the cost of flights when coming in New Zealand. That's kind of like the minimum that we suggest to people when coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa. Yeah. Anyway, so there is a lot of information about the working holiday visa on backpackerguide.nz. So if you do want to do a little bit more research, Jack, there is a lot of info there. And we'll put a few links in the description below when we republish this video, which is going to be quite soon. And if you guys find this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe. We're always here to help. All right, let's go back to the live chat right here. What else has been happening? And Kita say, is it preferred to buy warm clothes from Invercargill or should I buy them from Mumbai itself? Do they sell warm clothes in Mumbai? Really? I mean, to me, it sounds like a really warm place.
Yeah. Perhaps you can get it cheaper in Mumbai. If they do sell good quality warm clothing, then that's definitely worth considering. But if you know that it's quite hard to find warm clothes in Mumbai, and if you're unsure that it's going to be the right stuff, then you are better off getting it in New Zealand, in Invercargill, because there are outdoor stores in like every city around New Zealand, and they will have the appropriate clothing for the climate in New Zealand.
Yeah, so you can head to Torpedo 7, to Mountain Warehouse, to Kathmandu, to Macpac. All those are brands of stores which are catering to the outdoor scene. So you'll be able to find some warm clothes there. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be cheaper in India. So if they do have some decent ones in India, just go ahead, go there, because you may be able to save a few hundreds. And everybody likes to save hundreds. Yeah. All right, cool. Nikhil says, I would love to shift to New Zealand for work. Well, it's a good place to live in, that's for sure. Adil say, thank you very much. You're very welcome. Leo say, do you think Wellington is a good city to live in? Wellington is actually one of the most livable capitals in the world. Actually, I was reading, you always win some of those awards like that. It's a really nice little town. It doesn't feel like a capital at all.
No.
There's a lot of cafes. There's heaps of culture. So if you're really into culture, there's some really amazing museums. There's a lot of festivals, a lot of things happening. There's like film festivals and all those kind of things. So it's kind of a nice place to live in. I kind of really like it, but it's really windy.
Yes, but a lot of people, we obviously know a lot of people that have lived in Wellington, and especially on working holidays and stuff. And if you're definitely a city person, but you want to experience a smaller city, nothing too crazy or hectic, but it's kind of like a nice, it's just a nice small city on the waterfront. There's usually a lot of places to go and day trips to do there as well. So usually you can have a really good experience living there. Yeah,
there's plenty of things to do around Wellington. Actually, we're going to have a question today, which is going to be relating to the Wellington area. So stick around and you'll see awesome things to do around. All right, Jack says awesome, cheers. So I think he was on the working holiday, and that was basically his question. So I think we nailed this one. And Valerie Baker says, I've figured out how I'll carry my ski boots. They will be in my suitcase, so my carry-on the plane, and my day backpacks fit the 45 by 35 centimeters dimensions and will fit under my chair as a small bag. Boom!
There you go.
And she says she will live in Topo. What is your opinion on the city? Topo is a really nice lakeside town. There is a lot of things to do around. There is a lot of really amazing hikes. There is a lot of mountain kind of related things to do. If you're here in summer, you're going to really enjoy a lot the Tongariro crossing and the Tongariro National Park. And if you're in winter, you are going to be enjoying Mount Ruapehu, which has one of the largest, actually the largest ski field in the country. And if you're here in winter, you may even see Laura snowboarding down the slopes of Ruapehu at some point. So, and me tumbling my way down the slopes of Ruapehu as well. So, here you go. It's a really nice place to live in. As I mentioned, we do live in central Northern End, and this is kind of a greater playground. And it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and let's go for a question relating to Wellington, since we had a question about Wellington.
Yeah.
So just to give you a bit of context, Wellington is at the bottom of the North Island, and is basically at the bottom of the Wairarapa region. So that's the whole region. And so the question that we're having right now is from Jiren Sachi, and he says, what are the best things to do in Wairarapa? I would be living in Martinborough and Greytown. All right, so Wairarapa is a region that is quite often overlooked by travelers.
Yeah, it is. So it's located sort of, like Robin said, in the Wellington region, but it's on the east coast of the North Island. So on this side, it's quite interesting, an interesting place. There are a few things to do, but in our personal opinion, we kind of feel like it's the one region that actually in New Zealand has a little bit less to do. It's famous for its vineyards. It's got a cool lighthouse and coastal areas down there. Some few nice beaches and stuff to check out. But other than that, is kind of like it's a lot of farmland, and we'll go through some of the really cool stuff that you can do there. But it's one of those places where we're kind of like there's not always something to do, and but we'll still go through some stuff anyway.
All right, so the first thing that I'm going to mention, and it's definitely not the main things you need to do, but that's probably the thing that the most people do in the Wairarapa region, is stopping by the Tui Brewery. The reason they stop there is because Tui is very iconic here in New Zealand. Tui beer is probably the most popular beer in the country. It's bright and orange, and they have a very iconic building really close to the main highway. You can't really miss it. And there you can do some brewery tours as well as beer tasting. I don't necessarily think that it's really good to do that as a road trip stuff, to do beer tasting, but the other people in the car may enjoy themselves a lot with this tour. So I'm just saying this quick one in passing right here. A lot of people stop by the Tui Brewery. So it's in the town of Mangatioka, if I'm correct. Actually, let me just Mangatinoka. So here you go. That's there. That's probably the thing that most people do in Wairarapa. Now, let's go for some stuff that, is a bit more New Zealand-like.
Okay, so there is a really famous wildlife centre in the Wairarapa region called the Puhaka Mount Bruce National Wildlife Centre.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
That is, it's more commonly known as just like the Mount Bruce Wildlife Centre. But over there, they are famous for having a white kiwi bird. So if you want to go visit the little white kiwi bird, you can certainly go do that. But that's not the only thing that they have there. They also have a lot of other native New Zealand wildlife there that are in a conservation program. So you can see kaka, which is a type of like large parrot in New Zealand, and they sort of do flying displays when they're exercising the birds as well. And there's also some little bushwalks and stuff to do around there as well. So that's definitely a really cool place to go pop in and check out.
All right, next up on the list, I am not an alcoholic. I just want to say that first, but the Wairarapa region is quite famous for its wine. So it does a lot of really good wine, especially around the town of Martinborough. There is a lot of wineries that offer winery tours, that offer tastings, and it's a great place to also just buy some really awesome souvenirs to bring back home. Like the New Zealand wine is pretty famous and it's growing in popularity all around the world. So bringing yourself a couple of really good wines would be quite nice, even just for friends and families. And also most of the wineries actually handle the whole shipping for you, which is quite cool. So you can just buy all your wines at the winery and they will actually ship it back to your home country already. So when you arrive back from your trip, you have a parcel of awesome New Zealand wine waiting for you, which I think is quite cool. So the other thing that I'm adding to the list is checking some wineries.
Yeah.
Next up.
Okay, so if you're into cycling, there is a really famous cycle trail in the Wairarapa region called the Remutaka Cycle Trail. And this is actually a multi-day trail. Usually people do it in about 2 days, and half of it goes through the Wairarapa region and along the rugged coastline. So that's definitely a really awesome way to sort of see the scenery and some of the best scenery in the Wairarapa region, which is definitely around the coast. I'll just move on straight on to another thing to do in the Wairarapa, which is go to the beach. Like I said, there are a lot of amazing scenery along the coastline, and one of the most famous places to see is Castle Point. This is famous for a little short walk which goes to a lighthouse, and you can get a pretty awesome photo over there. And there is some surfing and stuff to be done on at that beach as well. So that's definitely worth checking out if you're into beaches.
All right, so the next thing to do in Wairarapa, and that will come to no surprise to anyone that ever planned a trip to New Zealand, is to go do some hikes. There is a lot of really awesome hikes to do all around the region, but one of the main attraction there is the Tararua Forest Park. It's a really massive forest park, and there is really plenty of different tracks to do there. You're going to be going through, classic, typical New Zealand views where you can see the whole valley with the river down the bottom. You see the mountainside with plenty of native bush. It's a classic New Zealand landscape. And if you are staying there for a wee while, which it looks like Jiren is staying there, I definitely would like to do that. I will definitely add that to my list because it will give me this real kind of New Zealand tramping experience. Now, the good thing about the Tararua Forest Park is that there is a lot of different level of hike as well. So you're not necessarily going to be going into an 8-hour walk straight away. You can go to something much easier, much tamer. So it will fit any fitness level.
Yeah. Okay, so if it's a rainy day or you're a little bit of a train enthusiast, there is the perfect museum for you in the little town of Featherstone. And here is the Fell Locomotive Museum, where they have some pretty dashing looking restored steam trains you can go check out. So if you're a little bit of a history buff, that's something you can do as well.
And once you're finished feeding your inner Sheldon Cooper, you can go check out some awesome rock formation. And there are some pinnacles in the Wairarapa region. It's called the Putangirua Pinnacles. Sorry, it's always hard. Yeah. The Putangirua Pinnacles, it's an amazing limestone formation. It feels like you're walking on Mars. It's really cool. So if you don't believe us, just Google it. And you'll figure out very quickly that it's something that you absolutely must see if you're there. It's a complete other world place to visit, and it's a rather short walk to get there. It's a long drive, but short.
Yeah, and you can also camp there as well. And it is a Lord of the Rings filming location.
Yeah. And while you're going there, there is another location not too far to go to add to that one road trip, and it is...
Yeah, what's it called? The Cape Palliser Lighthouse. So this is really on the very southern tip of the North Island. And here there is a whole bunch of steps, a lot of steps.
Got to watch the video and see how exhausted Laura was after those.
I can't remember how many there was, like 200 and something steps straight up on this cliff to a lighthouse. It obviously it's a really good photo opportunity. Yeah. And on the way there is a seal colony. So while you're driving down, it's a little bit of a rough dirt road. But when you're driving there, you can sort of slow down and have a look at the seals as you're driving by. And yeah, that's a really cool road trip to do. And definitely one of our favorite things to do is to go to Cape Palliser, visit the Putangirua Pinnacles on the way down. That's one of the good things to do in Wairarapa.
Keeping the best for last, eh?
Yeah.
All right. No, it's seriously really awesome, and we do have a video about this lighthouse actually on this channel. So just type Cape Palliser. It's PALL. Is that 2 LISER, and type that and check it out. It's a really awesome. It's a really awesome place to visit, and you see the whole experience going there. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to be linking to an article below in the description called 10 damn good things to do in Wairarapa. Which is on backpackerguide.nz, and we'll be linking to that video of us going to Cape Palliser as well. So make sure to check those one out and hit like and subscribe if you find this video useful. We do those one for you guys, so we want to know if you find it useful. All right, let's go back to the live chat. Valerie Baker is all sorted now. All right, so there was a question about Stewart Island. Oh yeah, John Radcliffe. All right, John is asking, is it worth to go to Stewart Island if you can only go for one night? I would definitely go. It's one of Laura's favorite things to do in New Zealand.
I've done exactly that. The first time I went to Stewart Island, because I had to go back because it was so good. But when I first, on my first trip sort of around New Zealand, I went to Stewart Island just for one night. And although I would definitely recommend staying there more, you can still do a lot of stuff because the ferry comes quite late in the afternoon the next day. So it gives you a lot of time. If you take the morning ferry on your first day, stay overnight and take the afternoon ferry back, that will definitely give you time to do some of the walks from the main town of Stewart Island, which is called Oban. So you can walk along the coastline, and there's some really amazing coastline walks to do from that town.
Wait. Did you got to go to Oban?
I was going to, that was the second thing I was going on to. Let's
if you go just for one night, you have to go to Ulva Island. I don't think...
okay, scrap all the walks that I was talking about.
What the hell? This is the one thing you do. I mean, what?
Okay, so alternatively, Robin would strongly recommend
go
to Ulva Island. So basically from the town of Oban, you just take about a 20-minute walk on the one road to the other side of this hill, where there's a little jetty. It's called Golden Bay or Golden Point. We're not quite sure which one it is, but Golden something. And there you take a ferry, which is literally just a small boat, over to Ulva Island. It takes about 5 minutes in the boat, and there's loads of different walking tracks. And Ulva Island is famous for being a wildlife sanctuary. Basically, it's a protected island where New Zealand native birds get to basically roam free and do what they like, and they're not threatened by any introduced species and stuff. So it's a really good place to go to see some amazing wildlife and see what New Zealand was like basically before human migration to New Zealand. You get to see what New Zealand would have been like during Jurassic time. So it's really cool.
It's such a unique place. You're going to get to see so many different birds. And again, it looks like I'm just saying that for every question, but we actually have a video about Ulva Island. So it's ULVA. So if you just type that on the search bar on our channel, you will be able to find that video, and you're going to see us going through and seeing all those different type of birds, which is really awesome. And you're even going to see us being super jealous on the boat back out of Stewart Island, where we meet a couple of girls that did exactly the same kind of boat trip than us and walked exactly at the same time than us on Ulva Island, and had a very close and very awesome encounter with a kiwi bird, which is super rare in New Zealand. And that's a completely wild kiwi bird. It's really awesome. It's so worth doing. There's no way about, there's no room to play right here. You go to Stewart Island for one night, you go to Ulva Island, you're going to love it. So yeah. Anyway, I wasn't thinking we would be talking that long about that, but honestly, Stewart Island, for sure, one night still worth doing. Laura's done it. We then afterwards went back to Stewart Island and stayed a little bit longer to be able to show some different things to do, like flying, some of the longest hike and everything like that. But it's definitely worth doing because it's such a unique place in New Zealand as well. It's how many inhabitants are on Stewart Island?
I think there's only 80 people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's 90% of the island is a national park. Yeah. So you literally can only live in Oban, in this tiny town, which is one pier, one tiny shop, and that's pretty much it. So so worth going there. No question about it. So did we convince you, John? Are you going to Stewart Island? I hope we did. And did you remember which activity you should do there? It's Ulva Island. You've got to do it. Anyway, what is happening? Y2J agrees with us. It says doable to do one night. Can get 2 activities done, 1 on each day. The ferry crossing is only 1 hour. Yeah, okay. And he's talking about the power prices. Electricity is more expensive, but as a tourist, you don't pay for it. So yay. All right, cool. Since you guys don't have any extra questions right now, we'll go through one more questions that we got right here, which actually may interest you guys if you are into wildlife. So we received a question on Facebook from Makala. Makala says, thanks for the video, guys. You guys are super helpful. I wanted to ask, can I only see whales in Kaikoura, or is there any other spots I can see them? If I avoid Kaikoura, I could save 2 days on my itinerary. Thank you so much. So it's actually a pretty good question, because a lot of people are considering, am I driving on the west coast of the Southern and on the east coast of the Southern, and how do I fit Kaikoura there? So yes, Kaikoura is probably the most famous place in New Zealand to see whales, and you can see a lot of different types of whales, and there's plenty of different ways to see whales in Kaikoura. Yeah, so in Kaikoura you can go on boat trips, basically whale watching cruises, where they have specialized equipment so they can use sort of like is it called a sonar sensor or something like that? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so that they can detect the whales in the water, and they give you some really good viewings of the whales sort of at water level, pretty close up. But alternatively, you can also take whale watching flights, which is definitely something that a lot of people sort of overlook, but it is definitely worth considering, because it does cost around the same as the whale watching cruise, but it gets you to see a whole different perspective, where you can actually see the full length of the whale while you're flying above it. Yeah, so that's definitely worth considering as well. All right, but yes, you can see whales in other places of New Zealand, and so we're going to give you a bit of a rundown and also tell you what kind of whales you're going to be seeing. And to be quite honest, you can see videos of us seeing whales in so many different places in New Zealand. So browse this channel and you'll find plenty of different spots where you can see whales in New Zealand, Makala. All right, so the second spot that we have for you after Kaikoura will be the Auckland Hauraki Gulf. So it's basically all the kind of little islands off the shore of the town of Auckland. So yes, you can literally land in New Zealand on the Monday, and on the Tuesday being on the water and see whales. Yeah. Now, one of the most popular, one of the most present whales that you're going to be seeing is the bride's whales. Am I correct? So the bride's whales, it's quite an amazing spectacle, and I really invite you to watch the video of us seeing that, because we basically went through the whole Auckland's whales and dolphin safari, and we saw a lot of dolphins, and we were kind of like, oh damn, we're not going to see whales today. And then we saw a massive amount of gannet kind of hunting fish. So you had dolphins that rounded fish around and were feeding. Then you had gannet that were diving, like dive bombing in the fray to try to get some. And at some point, something crazy happened. You see a massive whale just arriving with this big mouth, just like engulfing everything. It was absolutely phenomenal to watch that. So, first up, those fish had no shot whatsoever between dolphins, gannet, and whales. It was a true amazing spectacle of nature. But it was fantastic to watch, and it was the proof that you can definitely see whales of the Auckland's Hauraki Gulf shore. All right, so somewhere else you can go see whales is in the Bay of Islands, which is north of Auckland. It's in a region called the Northland region, and the Bay of Islands is famous for having, is it 166 islands? Or 144, I think. 144 islands. So amongst all those islands, you can actually go and see whales. They do regular dolphin spotting trips, and the whales, compared to Kaikoura and compared to Auckland, sightings of whales there isn't as abundant, but it is definitely possible. And every now and then on the dolphin watching trips, they do see orca coming into the bays, and not really sure. Oh, and bride's whales as well. So the best time to see so the best time to actually spot whales is between May and July in the Bay of Islands. All right, so the next spot to see whales in New Zealand is the Martinborough Sound. So the Martinborough Sound is mostly famous from the fact that the ferry from the North Island to the South Island passes through it, meaning that basically every tourist traveling around New Zealand get to visit it and to see it in some capacity. But it also has some pretty awesome whale sightseeing happening there. It's very seasonal as well, so you're not going to be able to see them every single time of the year, but you may be able to see orcas, which are, pretty awesome to see. And the most likely time for you guys to see it will be right in the middle of winter, June and July.
Yeah, and they have sightings of baleen whales going through there as well. It actually used to be quite a big whaling spot in the Marlborough Sounds, but then the whales have started to come back. Okay.
Well, when you stop hunting them.
Yeah, when you stop hunting them, they then decide to come back.
That's crazy. I mean, what?
Yeah. Okay, another place you can go spot whales is from the town of Whakatane, which is in the Bay of Plenty area. And if, just in case you don't know where that is as well, it's near the city of Tauranga. There are a couple of cruises where they do go out into the Bay of Plenty waters and do spot whales. Especially if you are planning on going there, a really famous place to go to is White Island. And very often on the boat trip from Whakatane to White Island, there are whales spotted on that journey. So that's actually something that almost happened to us. We were taking the trip. We were taking the trip from Whakatane to White Island, and on the boat behind us, basically our skipper got a radio call saying, "Oh, they'd just seen whales. Did you guys see them as well?" And we had missed them, but we definitely saw a lot of dolphins.
Yeah.
So that's one where it's not really like they have dedicated whale watching cruises there, but they are spotted every now and then. Yeah.
So basically, you've got quite a lot of options to see whales in New Zealand. There is not just Kaikoura. So if you do plan your trip correctly, and also depending on what time of the year you're traveling, you may be able to just kind of skip that place and be able to do a loop in New Zealand and afford yourself, because you were asking to save 2 days on your trip, and afford yourself to save a couple of days on your trip. So that's all the places to see whales in New Zealand. We're obviously going to be linking to an article related to exactly that right in the description below, just so you can dive more in depth into this. And also we're going to put the link of a couple of those videos of us checking out those whales and be amazed by all those things.
Yeah.
Because, oh my God, it's just so awesome. You've got to watch those videos. Anyway, if you did find that useful, like and subscribe. And obviously, if you do have any questions of your own, put them in the comments of these videos and we'll get to it during our next live sessions, which happen every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. It's somewhere on Saturday in your time. I don't know when. All right, what is happening on the live chat? John says, thank you so much. I was struggling to decide whether to go or not. Well, we hope you decided to go. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Edgar says hello.
Hello.
She says hello to Edgar. Look at that. And Grant's peekaboo from Hawke's Bay, New Zealand and beyond. How far beyond Hawke's Bay? Are you offshore right now? Are you just, are you on the boat somewhere, Grant? All right, guys. Okay, so if you do have any extra questions right now, some quick fire questions for us, make sure to put them in the live chat right now, because we only have already less than 10 minutes with you guys. It just goes so quickly. YTJ said he bought a Suzuki Boulevard M50. Oh, right. You are going to be doing some pretty awesome, gnarly road trips around the South End, I'm pretty sure, Y2J. I can't wait to see the videos. Grant says he's in Manawatu. So for those that don't know where Manawatu is, Laura?
Yeah, that's sort of in the sort of central North Island region. Manawatu has, what else does it have? Like the Forgotten World Highway there. There's Ruapehu area. It's just a little bit north. A little bit south of Lake Taupo area.
Yeah. I don't think the Forgotten World Highway is Manawatu.
It's halfway between Wanganui, Manawatu. It's sort of on the border of that and Taranaki.
The regions in New Zealand are a little bit kind of iffy, and
there's also Palmerston North in Manawatu,
which is quite cool.
Yeah.
All right. Are you doing some traveling in Manawatu, Grant? Like, what are you up to? It's the weekend right now. 2 hours from Welly and 2 hours from Hawke's Bay. Here you go, right in the middle. Boom. Yeah. All right. So actually, one of the fun things to do in Wairarapa that we didn't mention was to do some kayak boarding.
That's not in Wairarapa.
It kind of. It's
on
you can drive there.
Wairarapa's on the east coast, and
I get that. Because in Martinborough, it's like, okay, how long is the drive?
kiteboarding's in Foxton.
Yeah, no. How long will be the drive from Martinborough?
Maybe about 2 hours.
Yeah, I think honestly, if you stay there and you want to get out of it,
I think Skip wants to do something in there.
Anyway, I would
go to a different. If you're in Wairarapa, go to a different region to do some stuff. That's basically what you're saying.
Okay. I'm just thinking, like, it's kind of in the area, and you're gonna want some variety as well. Anyway.
Yeah.
We're not in this question anymore. All right, cool. So at the moment in New Zealand, the weather is actually pretty awesome because we are just, we are at the beginning of the winter and all of that. But the weather is going to get really cold in the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to really hit winter. So if you guys are about to arrive in New Zealand or about to fly to New Zealand soon, get yourself ready because the big cold waves are coming to New Zealand basically next week. And we're going to have some good rain, some good snowfall on all the kind of the mountainous area. You're not going to really have a lot of snow in cities, but in all the mountainous area, the snow is going to get started. And the winter season basically will be kicking into gear by the end of this month to the beginning of next month. So just to give you guys a little bit of context, New Zealand is about to just completely switch from kind of all the traveling, and doing the hike and everything like that to heavily relying on awesome ski fields, which is one of Laura's favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
There is plenty of ski fields right now, which are starting to get busy. Which one of the busiest ski fields in the country at the moment?
Well, I'd say that in the North Island, Mount Ruapehu is pretty busy because it's the only major, there's two commercial ski fields on Mount Ruapehu, and they are the only major ones on the North Island. And as you know, the North Island is the most populated of New Zealand's islands, so they're definitely the most busy. But in the South Island, you have loads of ski fields to choose from. So people tend to be scattered all over the place. But the busiest ones in the South Island tends to be Coronet Peak in Queenstown, Mount Hutt near Christchurch, and probably Cardrona between Queenstown and Wanaka.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. YTJ says that he currently finds it really hard to do video because it's so cold already. Maybe fly to a tropical island and do some videos there, or just buy a warm jacket and
pair of gloves so you can hold your
do some videos about snowboarding and skiing, man. We actually didn't get the chance when we did New Zealand's biggest gap year. We didn't get the chance to do videos about skiing or snowboarding and stuff like that. But we're surely making up for it now. But we didn't make videos about that beforehand, and we're like, damn, we wish we did. But it just didn't work with the schedule.
We always seem to miss the ski season.
Yeah, the height of the ski season every time. Yeah, it's quite impressive. A lot of people think of New Zealand as getting really cold in winter, but in fact, it doesn't get that cold in winter. And that proves it. We did 365 days around New Zealand, 365 activities, and we never had the perfect time to kind of do one, which is one of the activities is going to go snowboarding.
Yeah.
How easy would that one have been? It would have been such an easy one to organize, to plan, and everything. It just didn't work out. We were always just kind of not at the right time, which was crazy. Grant says, "Why I need some gloves?" So you can press the buttons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Yeah, you know what? That's really annoying to actually try to operate cameras with gloves. It makes it really tough.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It makes me admire, all those Blue Planet or those kind of shows where they shoot beautiful videos of polar bears or penguins and everything. I'm like, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
They say right now it is minus 25 degrees. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to. You'd be smashing the buttons like this.
So the wind is about 200 kilometers an hour. It's minus 45, and the camera is still. The shot is beautiful. I'm like, how are you doing that? But he has motorcycle gloves. Do you have those gloves that you can remove some of the fingers and then kind of do that?
I used to have some of those gloves, little mittens, which you can take them off and then they're fingerless. They're quite handy for cameras. They're not the most manliest of gloves, so maybe that looks a little bit different to motorcycle gloves. But
maybe just a little bit.
Motorcycle mittens.
And on top of that, YTJ is right. On top of it, the colder it gets, the more it decreases the battery life. But we have a good trick for that because we know we've done a lot of videos in caves and everything like that, which involves us spending 8 or 9 hours in the caves at night, so it gets really cold. But what we do, we actually put them in the inside. All the batteries, we put them in the inside pocket of our jackets. And so it keeps warm with body temperature. And so you actually keep the same amount of battery life. because then you go straight to the camera. The camera is already hot, so you kind of don't lose any battery life if you do that. If you want a good tip from us, here you go. He's going to go to northern China at the end of the year, minus 20 degrees Celsius up there at that time. He's going for the Ice Festival. Well,
Ice Festival in 20 degrees?
No, minus 20 degrees.
Oh, minus. I was saying, I thought he said he'd go to the Ice Festival.
It's the warm ice festival. Yes. It's a lot of water cups. It's really awesome. Like, some guys like do the ding.
Just watch all the sculptures melt. Like, this is fun.
All right, cool. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us for another one of our live session. If you do have any questions about traveling in New Zealand, make sure to put them in the comments of any of our videos on YouTube, and we'll be sure to write them down and get to it next time we do our live sessions, which is usually on Sunday, 8 a.m. New Zealand time, which is on Saturdays for you guys. If you are in the USA, it's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 12 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time. If you're in the UK, it's 9 p.m. If you're in France, it is 22 heures. And if you are in India, so sorry, it is 1:30 a.m. Again, those times are Saturday, except for India, which is Sunday. Thank you very much for joining us. If you do like our videos, like and subscribe. And again, all your questions in the comments. We'll get to it as soon as we can. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Thank you so much.